It's game day for New York City FC. The boys in blue look to return to the winning column tonight as they do battle with DC United in the nation's capital. It's time for New York City FC Pregame Live. Here are Glenn Crooks and Matty Lawrence.
Game live. There he is, Matty Lawrence. I'm Glenn Crooks. We are your English hometown commentary team. I guess we're the hometown team if you root for New York City.
Absolutely.
But we like to follow the other teams and say nice things about them as well along the way. And this one tonight so it's match day 13. There are 13 games on a Wednesday night. I think one of the interesting ones involving an Eastern Conference team would be Philadelphia playing host to the LA Galaxy, who set an MLS record when they failed to win in Week 12, and they become the first MLS team ever in the history of the league, 30 years, to fail to get a win in their first 12 matches. And it's significant because they are the defending MLS Cup champions. And one thing we said, I know we're straying a bit here at the start, but one thing we said on the elevator just coming up to our press area here is that this is the way MLS works in a negative fashion. Because of the budget rules, it made it very difficult for a team that had really formed a championship side. And you have to give all due credit to Will Kuntz and others that because they couldn't sign certain players and had to maneuver the lineup, and then Paintsill and Peck are injured. They're not playing very much. They can't get it done, and they're leaking a lot of goals.
Well, they've got a minus 20 goal difference, and after 12 games, that's quite extraordinary. It means they're almost 2 goals worse off per game. They're basically starting 2-0 down in every game, and they're not scoring many goals. So, yeah, it's a shame. But, look, I think we saw similar things maybe happen with NYCFC after winning in 2021, and things went downhill. Not the whole way, and certainly not as rapidly as they have with LA Galaxy. But it is a problem when you're having to deal with the budget requirements and with the salary cap. It's not good to see. I don't like seeing it. Look, I'm a Liverpool fan. I hate seeing Man United doing badly. Do you know what I mean? I think
that game becomes less fun.
The Premier League is better with a good Man United, and the MLS is better with a good LA Galaxy, or certainly with the team that won the year before being good again the next. It's not so much fun when the team that won is then absolutely terrible, as LA Galaxy are right now, and not always through a fault of their own, injuries, and then as the budgetary requirements as well.
Here it's New York City. Look, when the FC Cincinnati game was played a couple of weeks back, New York City wins at 1-0, and that makes it 3 wins in 4. And Pascal Janssen had to concede. He saw things starting to come together with the way he wanted his team to play. But then it was a midweek loss to Pittsburgh Riverhounds in the USL. The USL Championship team that beat New York City in the U.S. Open Cup, followed by the 1-0 loss to the previously winless CF Montreal over the weekend. So now you're back to where that lack of consistency. The one thing in the pregame show, which will be coming up at 7:15, 10 or 11 minutes with the gaffer in this one. But the first thing I ask him is, because I remember he said every 6 games during the course of the year, he's going to provide an evaluation. First thing he said is, well, as we look at the second 6 games, we didn't get more consistent.
Yeah, exactly. Well, at least we're consistent, because we were as inconsistent as we were in the first 6, and as well as it has been for the last 18 months. I don't think this is a Pascal Janssen problem. I think this is the club as a whole, isn't it? It's been inconsistent over 2 or 3 managers. And through 2 or 3 seasons as well. So it is very, very hard for Pascal Janssen to, I think, put his finger on it, because equally as it was for Nick Cushing last year. I remember you spoke with Nick Cushing an awful lot about how do you make this team more consistent? And the answer was quite well. If I knew that, we'd be more consistent.
Well, let's face it. And David Lee, the sporting director, who made the final decision to relieve Nick Cushing of his duties. I mean, one of the things that he pointed to was the lack of consistency in the team. So coming in here, it's 5 wins, 5 losses, 2 draws. And Pascal Janssen in his very first season, we get a chance to talk to him every week. Now, I'm looking at Alonso Martinez, and I think one of the aspects of the side that is quite evident is there is not a supplemental goal scorer to Alonso Martinez. So I addressed that with Pascal Janssen because Martinez, over the last couple of games, well, it'll be included in a part of this clip. And again, this is from the pregame show presented by Ford, which is coming up at 7:15 on the network. So here's myself and Pascal. Well, that wasn't him. Do you think the last 2 games, he's certainly missed chances that he might normally convert? One of them's a penalty where he hits the post, the breakaway last game against Sirois and Montreal. Do you sense that because there's really not a supplemental goal scorer right now that's coming in consistently, that he's feeling it a little bit, putting a little added pressure on himself? Maybe he's almost too tight in those situations?
Well,
it doesn't seem like it's his personality yet.
No, but yeah, if you could look into the head of every number 9 in the world, you would probably see some things of the things that you described just now. Because if they're in a good space, it's like the bottle of ketchup. Once it comes out, it keeps pouring out, and the goals keep coming. We just emphasize for Alonso to make sure he is always switched on, arrives on time in the positions that he needs to be, so he remains in that area where he can show his qualities. We've all seen the moments that he's missed in the sequence of the last 6 games. That doesn't worry us because we know what we can expect from him. On the other hand, he will always put this pressure upon himself as well because he knows he's a goal scorer and he's able to score these goals that he missed in the previous games. So there might be some pressure there, but I would say that's only natural.
So, only natural. And my point again being, if he's the only one really getting it done at the moment on a consistent basis, maybe when he's in front of goal, penalty, off the post, breakaway, misses the target, header from 3 or 4 yards out, hits it over the bar. Those are situations where I think we've normally seen him convert that. So, will someone emerge? Julian Fernandez, remember, he scored the goal against FC Cincinnati, Matty, and he did it from a right wing back. And we'll talk about the lineup again because it's the identical lineup to that FC Cincinnati match, and we believe, well, it's not the identical. Is it the identical line? I believe it's not. But we think it's the shape will be very similar to Cincinnati when Julian Fernandez scored his 2nd goal of the year. It was a confident strike, but then he gets the start against Montreal and gets pulled after 62 minutes. So again, Pascal is trying to sort out these young Argentinian wingers, Fernandez and Agustin Ojeda. And it's going to be Wolf and Fernandez who are the wingers tonight.
I think it's all over the field, barring Matt Freese and possibly Justin Hack this season. I don't think anybody's been consistent. Alonso Martinez hasn't been consistent. He's missed 2 penalties and he's missed a number of gilt-edged chances recently. So, yes, are we going to get those supplemental scorers? And I think the answer categorically is no right now, Glenn, isn't it? We're 12 games into the season. We're over a third of the way through the season. So there needs to be somebody standing up and aiding Alonso Martinez because, yes, he's definitely feeling the pressure. I think you can see that in his own performances recently. I think you've also got a good comparison when you look at the opposition tonight in DC United. They've only got one man who scores their goals, and that's Benteke. That's right. Benteke got 23 in the league last year. Martinez got 17 in the league last year. They've both got 6 this year, right. And they've both got 6 out of their team's 13. So basically 50% of the goals, and other players have chipped in with the odd one. No one else is really chipping in with 3 or 4. Well, they aren't. So you've got a really good comparison here about your 2 big centre forwards. And one of them is in terms of stature, big in Benteke. And in Alonso Martinez, he's a big personality and big in front of goal. And I think we certainly, as NYCFC supporters, we hope that he can come up big again today, because it hasn't quite been falling for him in the last few games. And look, in all competitions, it's 261 minutes without a goal for NYCFC, including obviously the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. That's why I say in all competitions, 261 minutes without a goal. It's a long time without scoring, Glenn.
Yeah, so tonight it's New York City against DC United, and both teams with 13 goals on the season in 12 matches. So now there's a guy who I suspect we probably won't see, but he has been added on a short-term loan, and he has made his professional debut. He did it the same night as Maximo Carrizo earlier in the year, and KP wonders, why do they need to do a short-term loan? And we're talking about Seymour Reed, up from the MLS Next Pro side, 17 years old. He's got 7 goals for them. He's near the Golden Boot lead in MLS Next Pro. And so just to piggyback with the discussion of Alonso Martinez, then it's Monsef Bakrar, who has struggled. He's got no goals in 300 minutes this year. He's normally been the backup 9. And you see that Pascal Janssen has given him the opportunities and has normally gone to him when Martinez needs a replacement. Is it possible we would see Seymour Reed again? I don't know. If he makes one more appearance, this is his 3rd short-term loan. So the way the rules work, if he makes another appearance, he can't be called up again this season unless he gets signed to a first-team contract. He's on a
I thought I read somewhere that it's already been decided that, well, I'm sure that it could change, but it looks as though he's going to sign a homegrown contract in 2026. Again, I'm not party to all of these rules, and I'm not sure I want to learn all of these rules, because
that has been reported.
Up in this
but
tiny
if for some
mind
reason
of mine,
they feel like
absolutely,
they need him,
then maybe so.
To,
and look, I always think that if you're going to bring somebody up and you're going to put them on the bench, then don't be afraid to use him. And you would have thought that Pascal Janssen, yes, maybe he's thinking about the rules a little bit in his mind, but if it's 1-1 or NYCFC are 1-0 down in the last few minutes, and he thinks Seymour Reed has more chance of scoring than Monsef Bakrar, which I think we all may think that right now, then why would you not?
We showed a clip with Seymour last week. I don't know if for those who may have watched the pregame live, the goal he scored when he just flashed to the near post, tucked it home, and it was a great striker's finish, which those are the I always say it's the Olivier Giroud goal. You know, he lived at the front post.
He doesn't have that weight of not having scored in so many minutes. He doesn't have that weight of the world on his shoulders. He's a young man. He's only 17. It will just be youthful exuberance and innocence out there. You'd almost want, if you wanted somebody to score a goal, you'd almost want Seymour Reed out there instead of Bakrar at the moment. I'm not saying that Bakrar's not a better player, because clearly he's proven that over his career. But right now, Monsef Bakrar's going through a tough time, Glenn. So maybe Seymour Reed could be the man in the last few minutes if a goal is required.
All right, maybe he will be the guy that comes in tonight at some point. And you can always change your shape in a manner. You can have 3 strikers on the field if you're down a goal and sort that out a bit. So we've seen that before. I'm sure it's happened on your teams along the way.
It's happened many a time. I don't think that Pascal Janssen would be happy with leaving here with just a draw. And if it was 1-1, why not go for it a little bit in the last 10 minutes? It doesn't mean that you would wantonly just throw players forward. You'd still have to stay solid at the back. But why not put Reed, Bakrar, and maybe Alonso Martinez up there? Because I think it's really, really important to get back to winning ways when you consider the last couple of results. And that's in all competitions. We're not talking about MLS, but it's going to hurt having lost the 2 games. And it's a squad game. It's not just a team game. It's a squad game. This squad, the NYCFC squad, has lost the last 2 games, Glenn.
Well, Kevin thinks Reed could come in. He's an assassin. So I'm anxious to see how this one goes.
Yeah.
And again, it's back to that shape for FC Cincinnati. And the key to that was Andres Pereira, who's getting the start tonight. Johnny Shore also in the midfield along with Justin Hack. This is what we believe it'll look like. We're looking at the personnel, and it looks like 3 at the back again. But Pereira was on that left side, sort of in a half space, wide sometimes. And the first 45 minutes against Cincinnati, he was mightily impactful.
Yeah.
Didn't score the goal, but came very close. Now, I mentioned Johnny Shore, so I sat with him for about 15 minutes this week. This is the first time I've met him a couple of times, but be able to sit and chat. If you go to my podcast, On Frame, then you can hear the entire 15-minute conversation. But let's bring in Johnny here because, look, this preseason, he said it was his 4th preseason with the club. So I asked him, like, when did you?
Well, his first preseason was in the womb. Then
I was going to say he joined the academy at 10, and took it right to preseason. He's 18 now, but he turned 18 short time ago in April. But I wondered when he thought that it might be happening for him this year. But when in preseason did he think this is going to go well for him?
First of all, I think I went into preseason. I thought I had a good season with the second team last season, so I went into preseason with the mentality that I wanted to be a starter or at least get some game time with the first team. But I think I really started to think that it could happen in Coachella when I started to get starting to get more minutes, and just working hard every day in training and trying to show my qualities every day.
And he has. And look, he's calm on the ball. He refers to that in the interview. It's interesting. He's been online with his high school classes. He's going to graduate in June from his online high school, and then he's going to do his collegiate studies online. There's a specific online university, he said, somewhere in California, and he's going to study business. And then, after his career's over, he's going to, buy a team. So,
well, you said that to him, but he didn't disagree.
No, he didn't.
Well, he grew up on the Upper West Side. He can probably afford
it. Maybe. So, it's a nice chat with Johnny, who, and then I had a funny moment with Pascal Janssen because I asked Pascal. I said, "Look, I'm going to be talking to Johnny, and would you give me, some things about him?" So this is what Pascal said.
I'm curious as to what his progressive passing numbers are. He seems to be a guy who figures out how to, I think one way you've put it in the past, he seems to always be involved in the progression
sequence.
up the field in the sequence. So what kind of analytics do you have on him?
Yeah, well, that's the main thing. The progressive decisions and the progressive passes are really, really important for our way of playing. And the interesting one, looking back at the review for the game against Montreal, he played a lot safer than he does normally. And we pointed that out to him also, and just making sure that if we want to sustain some kind of attacking threat and faster play forward so we can get into those areas where we're able to set up goals or score goals, he's a big piece in that. And in the game against Montreal, he was a little bit more Johnny Shy than Johnny Shore.
Did you tell him that?
I did.
All right. All right, I like that. Johnny Shy. We could call him Johnny Safe too. That's another one we could go for. If he doesn't go forward, we'll call him Johnny Safe or Johnny Shy. It's nice that the coach could speak to him like that. And sitting with Johnny, when you look a guy in the eye and you see them sitting there, I mean, he really he's a cool customer, man. He's a cool customer.
Yeah, I've just listened to that interview now, Glenn, you had with Johnny Shy or Johnny Shaw or Johnny Safe or whatever we want to say. But look, whatever we think, I know we're joking a little bit, Johnny's going to be a decent player. It certainly looks like it. As long as his progression carries on, as long as he doesn't get carried away with himself. And the way he held himself in that interview, there's nothing that leads me to believe that he's going to become a bad professional off the field. He seems very well put together. He may still only be able to drink lemonade. Look, back home, he's turned 18, he'd be able to drink lager, but he's still just a lemonade drinker. And it doesn't look, everything he seems educated. He still hasn't got his high school degree, but he seems educated in the way of the world, in the way of football. And it was a very good interview. And I think everybody should listen to that interview, Glenn, because it doesn't just tell you about the footballer, it tells you about the human being. And I think sometimes that's even more important than the footballing ability, because I've seen throughout my career lots and lots of very, very talented players, way more talented than I ever were, who fell out of the game at 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 because they didn't have what it took as a human being or mentally. Johnny Shaw, it strikes me more than anything, is very well put together as an individual. Obviously, his family as well have put him together too. Yeah. And he's at that sponge. He's a sponge who wants to just soak up everything, and that's off the field and on the field. I
like the fact that he walked down the block from where he grew up and went into the park or into his school, and they just a lot of kick arounds. And he got kicked a lot by bigger guys, which
Yes.
that's how,
which is a good thing as well.
Yeah,
And I know we joke about getting kicked or elbowed or anything in games. It does make you grow up very quickly. He talks about playing a year or two up. I know that really helped me. Not only was I very young for my year, I then played a year up as well. So I was virtually 2 years older. Hit puberty late as well. I was just smaller. It's good to get kicked. It for me, it was anyway. I'm not saying for everybody. Some people go into their shell, but I think Johnny Shaw's somebody who can handle the physical side of it, and he will just, as his body develops, he'll get in the weight room more and more. And I think we'll see his body develop, as we saw from James Sands and as we saw from Justin Hack as well. Yeah. It's good to watch the players progress from early teens up through into their first team career.
So Johnny Shore starting in the midfield. I want to mention a player on the other side who will also be in the midfield, who's also a young guy, 22 years old. His name is Jose Kojima. Now, I saw something on LinkedIn. So he posts on LinkedIn, and he has a very educated soccer mind. He posts things as if he were a coach. So I got a hold of the PR staff of DC United, and I host this coaching show, the Coaching Academy, on Sirius XMFC, and I asked if I could bring him on as a guest. And they said yes. And it was a great conversation. So he's a midfielder, and he studies. He watches film. Bobby Muse, his college coach at Wake Forest University, said he's never met anybody who watches film more than Jose Kojima. So I wondered, who he studied and what he could learn from them. This was his response.
Right now, what I'm watching a lot of is Columbus Crew. Within our league. So I really like how Darlington Nagbe plays within that system he plays safe, but doesn't play safe in the sense that if he gets, the ball right in the middle of the field with pressure on his back, he doesn't necessarily play back one touch, which was something I'm really interested in. Probably the number one thing I took away is that he uses his body very, very well to protect the ball. And he doesn't lose it much, if you watch.
No, he doesn't.
He probably won't lose the ball once, and he's still going forward and taking risks. That's what's really surprising to me. If the player behind him is pressing him one way, he'll go the other, and he has the full awareness to do that. In such a chaotic situation, Columbus Crew being a tilting team, meaning they basically tilt all their players to one side. What I call it is positional relationism, but they tilt all their players to one side. And for Nagbe to do that within that small space is extraordinary. And to not lose it for thousands and 2,000s of touches and minutes is just surprising. So I just try to take, his awareness, his IQ side of the game, as well as the way he moves.
I think it's safe to say that not one player in MLS outside of Kojima would use the words positional relationism when they're describing the play, and how he's identified Columbus as a tilting team. Got to love that. And certainly mimicking and learning from Darlington Nagbe. You can't get much better than that in the midfield.
I think you and I say, Glenn, every time that NYCFC play against the Columbus Crew, that Darlington Nagbe is one of the best, if not the best players in MLS. Certainly in terms of longevity as well. He's been doing it for a decade now, over a decade probably. Yep. He's a fantastic footballer, and it's great to see young players. We were talking about Johnny Shaw being very mature, and Johnny Shaw's 4 years younger than Kojima, but Kojima, again, went to Wake Forest, came through the collegiate system a little bit differently to Johnny Shaw, but certainly they are both educated kids and both want to learn more. I use the word sponge, and I love that when younger players are sponges and just want to learn and soak up everything from what's around them. And it will be interesting to see those two players. I don't think they'll go quite up against each other, but they'll be in a similar part of the field, that's for certain.
Two Wake Forest players starting for DC United. Garrison Tubbs, a 23-year-old, is starting at the back for them. They also play three at the back. Of course, a lot of the focus is going to be on Christian Benteke tonight on the DC United side. He was the MLS Golden Boot winner last year, scores lots of goals, headed goals in particular. Yes. He's got 3 headed goals this year of his 6, which leads MLS. A very quirky stat for DC United as we come to a close here. They have scored 5 set-piece goals with their head. 5 goals with their head. They've also conceded 5 goals on headers by the opponent. Those things don't juxtapose to me. That's like, I don't get it.
No, that shouldn't work, especially when you've got people as dominant as Benteke, because he should be able to head the ball very well in both penalty areas.
Exactly.
They've got 3 big centre halves as well. We're just looking at them just down below us as well. They're all over 6 foot by the looks of it. And yes, you should.
There they are, right in the center circle.
Yeah, and it's not just the 3 centre halves. Well, I'm actually wondering whether this is just being done to kid on the opposition or not in terms of NYCFC, because quite often it is. But that looks a pretty rigid back 5, that's for certain, Glenn. But I think we can safely say they will play with a back 5.
One of my favorite warm-up activities, right
we always used to do that before
get you all
games,
set. That organization. Matty Lawrence here, a veteran central defender in England who has been able to share not only his stories but his insights on the game throughout our time together. We're in our 11th season now doing the NYCFC broadcasts. And tonight, match day 13, it's New York City at DC United from Audi Field in Washington, D.C. New York City does have the lead in the overall series. And I want to make sure I get this right before we break. Hold on, what is it? 11 wins to 7 wins for DC United. But New York City, 41 goals to 25 for DC United. DC United concedes goals. They have for a long time. So maybe, but these teams don't score much, so we'll see what we're going to get tonight. New York City, we'll see what happens. It's a midweek game.
We'll see which team shows up, and because as Pascal says, this is an inconsistent team.
That's right. So can they get over 500 and then get themselves in a good frame of mind heading into the Hudson River Derby, which is this Saturday at Citi Field? Certainly you don't look ahead, and I think based on how the last 2 games have gone, I don't think there's necessarily any fear of that. All right, that's going to do it for us. So at 7:15, which is about 3 minutes from now, we start the pregame show on nycfc.com/radio with Pascal Janssen featured, presented by Ford, and then our live commentary beginning at 7:40 p.m. with the kickoff. So thanks for joining us here, and we look forward to talking to you there. Have a good night, everybody.